So I have to imagine to get these deals coming in on a consistent basis, you've got to be then very consistent with your marketing. So you've kind of talked about the areas that you hit. What I mean, kind of talk to us about the consistency of your marketing. I mean, are you still doing mainly just direct mail? What are things maybe are you doing to get these deals? Do you have a database that people go into so you stay in touch long time? Because I've got to imagine, again, to keep that consistent level, you got to treat it almost just like a real estate agent that's trying to get buyer and seller clients. Right? You've got this database, constantly marketing, constantly developing those relationships. It's got to be that ongoing process.
This will be very inspiring to much of your audience to hear that I'm not the most organized person in the world, and that I could do a much better job in terms of things like follow up. But so I have no doubt that's one of the areas that I'm, trying to improve in. I have no doubt that there are deals that slip through the cracks because somebody called me 6 months ago and I didn't call them back. I mean, I use Podio, but there's always ways to improve. But what I will say that I've done right is I've always marketed, like you said, a lot and pretty consistently, I would say, and networked a lot. So my two biggest deal sources, just like in those first early days back in 2005 when I was getting started, networking with agents and direct mail. Those have been. Now I started doing pay-per-click several months ago. I just got my first deal from it, and that looks like that's the one I'm doing the bathroom addition to. It looks like it's going to be a good one, so I'm excited about that. And I'm going to keep doing that for the rest of the year and hopefully beyond. But for the past 12 years, it's been direct mail and it's been agents where I've gotten my deals from. And I focus exclusively on off market. I have a friend now who's starting to change my mind about that because I've had many people try to change my mind about that, but I'm just here to talk. But my friend actually has figured out ways that he can get properties that are on the MLS here in the Bay Area and still make money on them. So, and he's definitely in the 7-figure club as well. But I have exclusively tried to find off-market deals where there's opportunities for value add, for either development or just sort of a quick flip or a rehab. And for the last few years, it's almost been 50-50, whether it's from agents bringing me deals that are off-market or my direct mail doing that.
Yeah. So when it comes to direct mail, I mean, what can you give us an idea of what that message looks like? Is it kind of just something of, sell your house fast without the headache of having to list it? Like, what kind of a message are you sending out?
That's a great question because in my market, actually, a lot of the things that the gurus teach you doesn't work very well because I'm not going after the distress segment, and these people tend to be very sophisticated and educated. So it's actually not fast cash for your house. It's not the bandit signs. It's not the yellers. So the way that I kind of portray myself to them and position myself is I'm an alternative to the real estate agent. So instead of having to do all these things and clean your house and paint it and landscape it and stage it and hold an open house and have a bunch of people coming through and reviewing offers, I will just give you an offer right now as is. Let's make it really simple. That is my pitch. So I'm an alternative. I'm not fast cash because they're not desperate. I'm not top dollar because realistically, I'm not going to be top dollar. There's always be an agent, and that's the biggest challenge in my business. There will always be an agent who will throw out a higher number than me. I don't look at other investors so much as my competition. My main competition realistically is the MLS, real estate agents. If they don't sell to me, they're probably going on the market. And that's why it's important that I get to them early. So I'm getting to them when they're just in the beginning of the process of thinking about selling. They haven't yet decided to. They're just in the very early stage where they're starting to think about selling. And I got to them and I met with them. And why would they sell to me? And why would they sell to me for less? I get this question all the time. I built rapport with them. I tell them how easy it's going to be. And they don't have to do all these things that they would have to do if they went with an agent. And then they're like, okay, Jason, all right, so what's your offer? And of course, it doesn't always work, but sometimes we come to an agreement. They are almost never distressed. In fact, the few times that I've bought pre-foreclosures, and I always didn't enjoy the process because it was people who were in such a upset emotional state that they're losing their home, and you almost feel guilty like you're taking advantage of them. I would much rather buy from a million. Usually, this is what I say. Usually, I'm buying from a millionaire and selling to a millionaire.
Yep. Yep. I love that. So then, the question that I get all the time on the podcast is, because we have a lot of real estate agents that are listening, right? And you are like the dream client for a realtor, right? Because it's consistent, constant deals that we're able to feed you. It's not just a client that's buying or selling every decade. It's like, hey, if I get a relationship with you, Jason, I might be able to feed you a dozen deals a year, year after year after year, or more, right? What are some things that like a realtor, if they were looking to develop a relationship with you, like how would they do that? How would they be able to bring value to you? Because it sounds like you already have a lot of great agents. What are some things there that you'd give our listeners some advice?
Well, first I have to say I'm not so sure that I'm a dream client, because I'm kind of a headache client, because I'm very picky, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking for things that fit the parameters. I get a lot of leads from agents, and most of them simply don't work. The deal doesn't make sense. The deal is too marginal. There's not enough upside. I mean, I have to say no more than I say yes. I have to turn down probably 95% of the leads that come my way. But I'm definitely a repeat client, because if you bring me stuff that makes sense, I will definitely do it. The problem is that most of the leads do not make sense. And this is where people kind of give up and kind of quit, because they just look at a few, they don't make sense, and okay, this doesn't work. Well, you have to build your funnels to generate enough leads to have at least a few a month. In my case, maybe like a couple a month that I'm going to make 6 figures on. But if you're in a lower end market, you maybe want to do 5 or 10 a month. But you have to, whatever that number is, there have to be enough leads coming through the funnel, because most of the leads are not going to make sense. So you have to build the funnels. But as far as like what it takes for an agent to work with me, I mean, I'll gladly work with any agent that understands that I want off-market deals, and deals that I'm an investor, so I need at the end of the day to make a profit. I'm not interested in buying a house for full market value, where there's not, unless there's a real big value add play, like I said, if it's a 2-bed, 1-bath in a high-end area and we can expand it and make another $500,000, that's interesting. So I'm always open to working with agents, but the reality is that actually most agents don't really think outside the box. And what we're doing as investors is outside the box. So a typical agent, they're used to listing grandma's house and having it painted and staged, and holding open house on the weekend, and then taking offers, or showing John and Mary Smith a bunch of 3-bed, 2-bath homes in the neighborhood that they want and in their price range, and writing offers. Those are the 2 things that agents typically do. I'm saying, bring me off-market deals, make sure they make sense, and I'll work with you, and I'll list them with you, and I'll bring you other business. That's outside the box. And I would say to your viewers and listeners that if they want to do what I'm doing the way that I'm doing it, expect that 90% of agents will not be a good fit. So if you want 10 good agents, you better go out and talk to 100.
Yeah.
You want 20 good agents, go and talk to 200, because the reality is that what we're asking them to do is outside the box. We're investors. We're creative real estate investors. We're not your regular home buyer or home seller.
Yeah, and those of you that are realtors that are listening to this, one thing that, because we've got a few investors that we represent that are doing similar things to what you're doing, Jason, and we started a program that, and we market this publicly, which is our immediate buyout program. So it's like, look, we have multiple options. We can list your home on the MLS and get you top dollar. Or if you don't want to go through that headache, we have an immediate buyout option where we can get you an offer from one of our, from our investors in 72 hours. We disclose everything to them, and it doesn't work all the time, but I mean, each month we're closing a couple of them, right? So there are ways to do it. And then what's cool about it from a real estate agent standpoint is our marketing that shows that we have that immediate buyout, even though it doesn't work for a lot of people. It definitely makes the phone ring for us to be able to get traditional listings. So it creates a huge, huge win-win, because then I can leverage my investors. Think about it. You go to expireds, you go to FSBOs. Hey, I represent some investors that can have you a cash offer if you're willing to entertain that, right? And there's so many different strategies that agents can use to leverage that.